It's finally. Man, this technology, I tell you, it just like it keeps trying you and trying you. Okay. Okay, let me let these students in. Write this. Share. This one. This one. Go ahead. Hmm. So all the exams, we have like a total of like four exams. We do three together, and then the fourth one is the final, which is like a departmental final. But all the exams together total up to like 80% of your grade. So then, well, 80% of the stuff that I'm calculating. The homework for what I calculate is 10%, and the quizzes for what I calculate is 10%. Um, and then I think your lab is 10%. So like, what I'm just gonna calculate your grade like normal, but I'm gonna scale it to 90% of your overall, and then the other 10% comes from the lab. That was a good question. Yeah. Uh huh. Yeah. This is asynchronous. I'll let you decide how you want to work that. So if you got, yeah. Okay. Let me see. Go ahead. Yeah. The main thing that I need is that you for you to log in at each session. You're not required to stay. I just need you to log in. But so usually I try to make your attendance like valuable in the sense like I honestly go through like all your homework. Like if I were you, I would take this time to just go ahead and do my homework. Like if you're not done with everything, just use this time now to go ahead and be working on it. The original intent is for this time to be like a study session, like a Q&A. A lot of it's kind of like pulling teeth to get students to ask questions. So I don't really stress that. I don't push that too much. I'm just available and I fill the dead space with like your homework, right? So it's the same homework questions that you all are going to have, just different numbers. So you can either follow along and just augment the numbers to fit yours, or you can ask questions. Where if you ask questions, if you use the Ask My Instructor, it'll send me a screenshot of your very question, and I'll pull it up and we can do yours together. It'll be your exact numbers. I'll pretty much do it for you. Um, but yeah, so I'll let you guys decide how you want to work that. But again, my recommendation is to just kind of chill, hang out, go ahead and use this time to finish your assignments. It's not a lot of work compared to what it used to be for the students. And you can honestly finish your weekly assignments like during this time for the most part. These are good questions. Yeah. So, you know, you're adults. I'll let you decide how you want to do that. The main thing I need from you all, most of your grade comes from the exams that's on Pearson. So we're at the top of week 6, right? During week 8, we can anticipate exam 2 covering sections 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6. Um, you can anticipate you can anticipate exam 2 to be similar to exam 1, except that I do want to incorporate. Ah, hang on. I do want to incorporate an oral component where I want to basically do. I want to do. Where is this? Okay, there it is. I want to do an oral component. Worth 20% of that exam, right? And what I would need from you all on your end is when we're doing those oral components, like so I'm gonna like create like blocks where everybody can kind of schedule that works for them. And we'll just try to commit to those times as best I can. But like on your end, I just need to be able to see your face and you tell me what to write. Now, you do have like some creative freedom in like how you present, as long as I can see your face, and um, like for instance, I'm using an iPad. I have the image pushed to my laptop through QuickTime, and I mean you can do something similar if you have an iPad and a laptop. One woman, she created like a clear dry erase board, like out of plexiglass and like a little bit of like construction glue or whatever. um, and she showed how she writes like normal, and she just reverses the image. It was kind of a cool little video. If I find it again, I'll share it with you all. You don't have to do all of that, but it doesn't hurt to be able to present digitally, because with the way that everything is going, who knows how long all of this stuff is going to be going on and the fashion that it is. And so being able to just do presentations virtually and remotely, it has a lot of applications in this day and age. Yeah, yeah. Ask questions. So again, the original intent of this time period is uh-oh. The original intent of this time period is for it to be a Q and A. Yeah, yeah. If you have a question, you can just do a direct message to me now, and like you don't have to wait. And like if I need to do like a breakout room, and we can, if it needs to be private, I can. But yeah, just send a direct message, and that's fine. Yeah, yeah. So for exam two, there will be a verbal or oral component. Just a few questions. Again, I'm gonna make some scheduling blocks. Try to schedule each person, and I just want you to tell me what to write. And basically, I'll still have like the online component, like with exam one, but there's gonna be an oral component worth 20% of your grade, right? So yeah. Yeah, and again, so the original intent is for, oh no, was for this time period to be a Q and A, question and answer. So like we can go through any homework. Preferably, let's try to stick to anything in chapter one for right now. Let's try not. I've been trying not to go into chapter two. I've just been trying to keep everybody focused on getting ready for exam two. Let me see. More than likely, what I'll do for the oral component, I'll go through something that you've submitted and just pull like some questions. Like, so I'll be like, okay, well, I see you submitted this assignment. Walk me through this. This question. Like, and just tell me what to write. Like, and now I'll just write like. Now, if you want to show it yourself, you'd have to have something ready to go as far as like, a dry erase board or a clear plexiglass board or something like that. There are some techniques. Again, I'm using like an iPad, but even if you don't have anything, I'll show my screen. You tell me what to write, and we'll do it that way. Okay. It's also a good idea to connect with the tutors. I don't know if anybody has been able to connect with the tutors or not. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, I can't think of anything. These were some good questions. I'm glad that you all are asking them. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and suppress my audio. And if you have questions as I'm going through the presentation, or you want me to go through a specific question, you just got to get my attention, and we can pull it up and talk about it. Let me see. The best practice is to make use of the Ask My Instructor. Let me look at the chat one more time. Okay. PM. Yeah, usually, yeah, that's fine. Zoom. Okay, so the Zoom is for our lecture. The lab component, you have to connect with like Dr. Lamar. So that's Dr. Lamar. I'll work with you because I know we kind of had like a weird start. Um, I don't, but you're here now. As long as you're here, and so like, even if say you got started on everything late, if say, suppose you got started on like Pearson late, the way I have my Pearson set up, it has an inherent extension built into it. Like, so for instance, each week the assignments on a weekly basis are due every week, every Monday, right at 9 a.m. Um, but you can work on assignments past the due date, and there's only a 10% late penalty. So anything that we've done, now, I think for you all, I did put like a official extension into like the assignments for the most part. That extension might be coming to a close. You just have to check. But even if we're past that original extension, the way I have all of the assignments set up on Pearson, we still get unlimited attempts. You can actually work on them past the deadlines up until the end of the semester. End of the semester, that's the hard deadline because then it's like, okay, I got to calculate final grades, I got to submit the grades and stuff like that. So, but Honestly, everything is available. Exam one, old quizzes, all the homework is all available. You get unlimited attempts, and if it's late, it's only a 10% late penalty. So if you really want an A minus on any assignment, then that means you have to get a perfect score. Students often they just push and get whatever grade they're comfortable with. And if you are behind on assignments, if you don't do anything else, I at least will make sure that my exams are in order. The exams are about 80% of your overall grade. The homework that I've assigned, one, all your homework for the semester, entire semester, is already up, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that all the homework for the entire semester is only 10. It's less than 10% of your grade. So that's a lot of work for a little bit of points. On the flip side, what's a little bit of work and most of your points are the exams, but the exams are not that straightforward and that easy, right? So if it, long story short, you just want to make sure that your exams are where you need them to be. Um, and that's, just to kind of relieve some of the pressure and put things in context. The order of priority, you definitely want to prioritize your exams first, make sure those are where you'd like them to be. The second in command or second thing that you'd like to focus on, I would recommend focusing on are your quizzes. The quizzes are 10% of your grade, but it's a lot less work than the homework. The homework is going to be a lot of work for little points, right? Even though that's where you do most of your learning, that's how you get the concepts and things. But I'm just saying, if you're pressed for time or you're just trying to get it over with, exams first, make sure that's good, and then go back and do your quizzes, and then work on your homework. So a question pops up that says, "Does the homework prepare us for the exams?" And yeah, it does, because basically for the quizzes and exams, what I do is I go through the homework and just pull questions at random, and those are your exams. Um, there are some tactics like you can kind of have like I think you might be able to do a split screen, and one screen you have the homework open, another screen you have the exam. Uh, that can still be a little bit bulky. You have to get a little bit savvy because I don't want you to spend so much time trying to get that homework perfect and then you run out of time for what you need to do, right? So you kind of go back and forth. You get unlimited attempts. Even if you work on it past the deadline, you can still get an A minus on any assignment. So I'm just saying that to relieve some of the pressure. I don't want you to feel so pressed. All I really need you to do is take action and ask for help where you feel like you need help. Um, Definitely link up with the tutors. Do the best you can with your classmates, but the tutors, that's what they're sitting, that's what they're there for. You've already paid them. That's what you paid them for to help you with this kind of stuff. And I'm available. Honestly, this time now was what I intended it to be for. I chose this time because I knew that you guys would be available instead of trying to make other office hours. And like we honestly have a whole bunch of extra time the way everything is set up. Let me see if I answered all the questions. Yeah, and so like with the emailing, I'm just not the best with responding to emails. I'm just not the best. And so that's another reason I use class time. I was like, okay, so if I don't respond to the email by the next time we meet, just ask me during class time. Like that's what works better for me. One institution I was at, we had like a virtual phone that you can call, but I don't have anything like that at the way this is set up. So I don't have a phone number that you can call. So the best thing is just ask me at the next class time, and I try to go out of my way to be available during these times, right? Um, because I'm just not the best with like replying to emails. So like if you did email something, I work with you. I'm not gonna like it's no hard anything. The only hard deadline again is at the end of the semester when I have to submit grades. But everything is available. You already have a natural extension built into the way into the structure of this course. So you get time. You have time. You just got to take advantage of it. And that's like the long and short. I know that there might be an issue with attendance. Again, with you guys, I work with you because we did kind of have a weird start. Like I didn't even get access until like either the second or third week to this specific course. So I'm not gonna, as long as you're just getting your assignments in and you're making it clear that you want to finish the course, then I'm not gonna let attendance get in your way. More than likely, probably right after exam two, I will go through and check attendance. And like if I see the students have anywhere from three to four, three or more, especially if I see four or more unexcused absences, then I'm gonna try to reach out to the students and say, hey, is everything okay? Do you intend to stay in this course? Would you like to be removed? Like, I'll reach out if you, and I'll kind of go based on what each student says, because it is a little bit weird, and I just don't want you guys worrying, stressing about attendance. Just do the best you can with attendance. the attendance that I take, like if you see that attendance grade in Blackboard, that's not factored into your grade. I'm taking attendance just for records, because often what happens is administrators come around. They're like, "When was the last time you saw so and so?" So then that's when I pull up my records and I was like, "Well, last time they were in my Zoom was this date," or oh, "Okay, I haven't seen them at all." Like that's what I use that for. But it's not directly factored into your grade, the attendance. And it only becomes an issue, especially once we hit like 4 unexcused absences. It's really supposed to be 3, but I'm just kind of making an executive decision to say 4 unexcused absences. But if I see like 4 or more, then I'm going to come looking for you and say, "Hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you still? I'm going to come looking for you." So don't stress about that. The main thing is just make sure your exams are in order. That's the bulk of your grade. That's the most savvy use of your energy. Least amount of work with the most points. Let me see. So yeah, if you're here now, you made it in. Well, I'll work with you. I'm not gonna let that stop you. Just kind of keep working. It's okay. So now the lab component. So the Zoom, this is for our lecture. Like this structure, this setup has two main components. You have the lecture portion, which is what this is. That's what Pearson. All the stuff that's in Blackboard, anything for our class is right there on your Blackboard page. The syllabus, I think the syllabus is there. I think it might need some tweaking a little bit, but as far as the Zoom link, there should be an updated Zoom link it's operational. I think the one in the syllabus, not in hindsight, might be a little off. But if you found it your way in here, again, I work with you. But how to get into the Zoom is on Blackboard. The homework access is in Blackboard. My YouTube, there's a link for my YouTube lectures in Blackboard. Honestly, everything that I want to say for the lectures is already available in the playlist link that I have on my YouTube playlist. I'm just making a fresh version of like the topics, but I already have the things I want to say is already available. So you could watch those lectures in advance. You can go ahead and do all the homework and quizzes for the semester, and then just be around to like just check in each day to get your attendance credit, and then just submit your exams. You can actually finish most of my assignments early because everything is available. And again, I've given you time. I'm not gonna slight you. Just take a deep breath, get your things submitted. Let me see. Now, as far as the lab component you have to connect with Dr. Lamar. She runs the lab, and basically, so the lab is a little different. The lab is she's using a system called Alex, and so where I'm using Pearson to talk about the current material as far as like college algebra, she's using this software called Alex. That what it does is you take a placement exam, and then based on what you score in the placement exam, it makes a coursework customized for each student. So if it sees that you're deficient in a concept or area, it's going to give you things specific for that. So anything with the lab, Dr. Lamar is running that. You'd have to contact her to get the details there. I want to say there should be like when you go on the Blackboard on the left hand panel, there's something about the lab there. And again, I don't want you guys stressing. Take a deep breath. I'm going to work with you as long as you get your stuff in by the end of the semester, get everything in order. I'll work with it. I'm not gonna lay down no hammer. It's only like basically if I don't have anything, you know, then I have to go with what I have, right? That's the long and short of all of that. Let me see. So and all of our homework for my portion for the lecture component, it's all in Pearson. But you access everything for me. You access through Blackboard. For Dr. Lamar, she has the syllabus should be there. If it's not, I can check and make sure it's loaded. But that you should be able to, her contact info should be in Blackboard as well. Let me see. Yeah. So let me see. Hopefully, and if Blackboard isn't working, I can take some time to look at it and make sure that it's operational. But it should be operational because I just basically copied what I did for the other students for you all, and their stuff is working. Let me see. And so, yeah, the homework does prepare us for the exams. Again, all I do for the exam, I just go through the homework and just choose. It's all the same information, just kind of stated in different ways. Um, so the same way with you all, I kind of go through the homework. I kind of go through different questions with my students from other sections. but I stream it and I make it all available on my YouTube. So any of the questions from the homework, and it should be in order. Like I kind of do everything in order, so you can kind of go through the playlist that has like basically everything from this semester, and you can see what I did with the other students. Or you can just use the Ask My Instructor directly and like bring it up like now. Now is like the best time. Okay, so that's the long and short. Hopefully, and just let me know if if things are still not clear, or if you still have other questions, because it is a little bit back and forth. But then once you see it, then I think you can, and you still have plenty of time. I've had students like in past semesters where they honestly kind of waited to like the last minute, like the last maybe like month or so, like 2 or 3 weeks of school, and like they just did everything and they got it in there. I was like, okay, it was enough for me to work with. You know, I mean, they got perfect scores on things, but you know, the highest they could get was a 90 because most of the stuff was late. But I think they may have fell in like the B range, you know, with that kind of thing, because that maneuver. That's why I did 10%. Like a high B, low A is I think that's honorable and respectable. Okay, and I mean honestly, it's all honorable and respectable. It's not easy. None of this is easy. It's simple where you know the plan is simple, but it's not easy because it's a lot. We're dealing with life. We got this pandemic. You know, we got all sorts of stuff. Right? I know it's a lot. So that's part of the reason why I set the class up the way that I do to try to be reasonable. You know, and you know, I know when I've had professors do stuff like this, I appreciated it. I took advantage of it. Um, and so I just trying to like encourage you all to do the same. Okay, so let's kind of keep going where we left off. So what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of continuing where I left. We've kind of been on section 1.6. The topics kind of take a little while. Like with my class, a class yesterday or last week, Wednesday, something like that. We did section 1.5, and that one was quick, right? We were able to do that in like 50 minutes. But this 1.6 to talk about all the things we need to talk about, it is kind of take a little bit of time, but we actually have time. We have a lot of time factored into the structure. After Morehouse made their augmentations to College Algebra, it removed a lot of material. So we're honestly covering about half as much material as we covered with students in the past, but it was way more overwhelming for the students in the past. Like where we're doing one section per week, they were doing anywhere from 2 to 4 sections a week, right? So it was a lot more. I think this is a lot better for everybody. So I'm you know we just do the best we can. But again, I encourage you to just take a deep breath and make a plan of action, take action, you know, and you can do it. Like I've had people that were in way worse situations than what you guys are in, and they were fine. You just got to take a deep breath, make a plan, and work the plan. It works if you work it, right? That's the long and short. So again, if you do have questions, now is the best time to get those things answered. Again, I'm just not really that good with replying to emails. So, but class time, that's what it's for. It's for getting questions, and we just have the time. Like it's totally okay. Okay. All right. So let's see. So we're working. Let me make sure I'm showing this here. Okay, cool. So we're going to continue with section 1. Okay, let's see what's going on there. Go ahead. Yeah, if you have a question, just I have my audio suppressed right now so I can focus. But yeah, just type it and we'll talk about it. And again, if you want to go through a homework question, my recommendation is to use the Ask My Instructor, and you know just bring it to my attention. I can pull it up right now. Okay, so I'll check that momentarily. So this is question 14. It comes. Let me take some notes here because I think I need to write. Let me see. Did it come up? Okay. So let's do paper. Let's do some lines. I know someone. Are you? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If you have a question, just. Did you want to talk it out? Yeah. If you have a question, just type it in the chat. And let me know if you want to. Okay, if you want to be audible. Let me see. Week 2. Yeah, we can go over something from week 2. Do you know like which question in particular? Did you? So go to your week 2. Once you find the question, click on the Ask My Instructor and just send it to me now, and I'll pull it up. The best way to use my services when it comes to like support with this material is to ask specific questions. Like if you say, "Hey, I don't get this concept," I'm just going to point you back to the homework. Versus, "Hey, I was working the homework, I got stuck on this question." Oh, then I can give you all the details of that question. The best way for me is just to ask specific questions. But yeah, use the Ask My Instructor. Let me know once you sent it, and then I'll pull it up and we can talk about it. And while the student is doing that, it is a good idea to talk about like stuff from the past as well, because math kind of by default is cumulative. For instance, we can't do stuff from 1.6. Yeah, I'm still here. We can't do stuff from 1.6 without knowing like 1.5 and 1.4 and stuff like that. So, because it's kind of like it builds on the previous concepts. Let me know once you've submitted it and ask my instructor, and I'll pull it up. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and kind of start working on this one. We're given these two functions, f and g. Let me see. It says evaluate f composed g and find the domain. Let me see. Okay. So while the student is working on that, I'm gonna go ahead and work on this one. Let me take some notes really quickly. So again, this is question number 14. This comes from section 1.6.37. We're given that f of x equals the square root of x minus 5. G of x, and that's a colon, is 1 minus 5x. We're asked to find f composed g and the domain. Find f composed g and its domain. Let me check the chat. Did he get it going? So yeah, if you're doing the Ask My Instructor technique, just let me know so I can go look for that email. Okay. So in the meantime, let me go ahead and so let's hop over to the tablet to see the notes that I took. So we're here. I think the stream. I don't know why I didn't switch over. Okay. Okay, cool. So these are the notes that I just took from that question, right? We have these two functions. We're asked to find the composition and the domain, right? So we're asked to find f composed g. What does this mean? This means the second function inside the first function. I'm going to do g of x in green. The second function inside the first function. Again, this means this, right? Second function inside the first function. Let me check the chat really quickly. Okay. Okay. So then this is going to be f of the second function is the green, which is the 1 minus 5x. Right? So then what's f of x? F of x, so what we're going to do, we're going to replace each x in f of x with the green thing. So first I'm going to replace the x with a blank set of parentheses. Right? And then what color goes into the blank parentheses? The green thing. All right? So then we want to simplify and combine like terms. There's no distributing going on here. We don't have to do addition or subtraction. We don't have to do subtraction over multiplication over addition or anything like that. Nothing to distribute, so we can lose the parentheses and combine like terms. 1 minus 5 ends up being what? Negative 4. So this is going to be negative 5x minus 4, right? So I'll call this the simplified function, right? So now when we're working composite functions, so again, this symbol here, composition, right here, this symbol, it just means the second function inside the first function, right? Is f composed g, second function inside the first function. So what we have boxed right now is what I call the simplified function. So then to find the domain of a composite function, there's a 3-step process that I recommend. Domain of a composite function. Right? The domain of a composite function. And again, if you have questions, this is the time to ask, because I'm just not good. I'm busy. Once we leave here, I generally miss emails, like easy. So that's why I was like, okay, the best thing I can do is use class time. This is really supposed to be Q&A. This is when I expect you to ask your questions now because I know you're available now. All right. So I did that intentionally. Let's see. So for a domain of a composite function, there are three things that I recommend. The first thing is you want to find the domain of the inside function. All right. The second thing is you want to find the domain of the simplified function. And then the third thing is you want to take their intersection. Okay. So for the first step, for the domain of the inside function, in this case it's going to be what, G? So the domain of G, so if we have G of x equals 1 minus 5x, that's in the form of y equals mx plus b, all right? So if it's in the form of y equals mx plus b, all right, what's the slope? Just take a moment and see if you can identify the slope. Take a moment and see if you can identify the y-intercept, all right? So if we're looking at G at the top of the screen, the slope you should get is -5 and the y-intercept is 1. So that should be the graph of a diagonal line with a negative slope. Y-intercept of 1 and a slope of -5, right? So then what's the domain of a diagonal line? The domain of G in this case is going to be all rails. So negative infinity to infinity, right? So then second. Okay, so then we have the domain of the simplified function. So we see the simplified function box there, right? So we have the square root of this expression. So we've said before, when it comes to square root, like this is what I don't understand. Like I'm kind of like stuck now because students make a big deal about not replying to emails timely, but then when we get to class, I'm like, well, just ask me now, and they don't say nothing, and I'm like, why? They just be trying to prove a point, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, just ask me now. Like, I never understood that. And like even in the chat, what you could do is just do a direct message, so that way it's essentially private. I just don't understand that, but that's a common thing is that like they want to take up your time outside of class, and I'm like, why not just ask me during class? Because we have time during class. We have a lot of time during class, and it's just kind of difficult to get students to like open up. I don't get that. I don't understand why it's like that. Like if it was really important, just ask me during class. That's what I did. Like when I emailed the professors, and if they didn't respond to my email, I just asked them the next time that I saw them. You know, I don't have an office. I don't have an office phone for you to call. So that's why I use the class time to kind of be a Q&A. I never really understood that. And so then it just becomes like this game and I'm like, you know, I'm like, look, just ask your question. Like, I just never understand why, they want to do it that way. I never really understood that. But anyway, so now we want to find a domain of the simplify, right? This square root thing. We can't take the square root of negative numbers, right? So that radicand, which is this inside part here, this guy, we need it to be non-negative, right? It can't be negative, so we need it to be non-negative. So in this case, for the domain of the simplified function, we need this radicand, which is this negative 5x minus 4. That needs to be greater than or equal to 0. That needs to be greater than or equal to 0. Right? So if we solve this inequality, we add 4 on both sides, right? We'll get negative 5x is greater than or equal to 4. Now something happens if we multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, cool. Let me see. Maybe he got it. Because I was looking for, let me see, question from week 1. Yeah, question 19. Okay, we'll do that one next. Let me see. Okay, so something happens if we multiply or divide by a negative, right? We have to be on the lookout. So then the result here, when you multiply or divide by a negative, remember inequalities flip. So then we get a negative 4 by 5, right? So the domain of the simplified is everything to the left of negative 4/5. So then it's going to go from negative infinity up to negative 4 by 5. Infinity always gets a parentheses, and in this case, the negative 4/5 gets a square bracket. And then the third step, we take their intersection. Take their intersection, whatever. You should get the gist of it. So then if we say the whole number line, so all reals, intersection, this goes from negative infinity up to negative 4/5, like this. So the whole number line intersection half the number line ends up being, what do they have in common? Both of these sets have this thing in common. Hopefully that makes sense. So intersection is we want to list out the points that they have in common, right? So now we have the simplified composition of function with the corresponding domain. Let me submit this on Pearson, and then let's hop to the request. Again, the best thing is the Ask My Instructor. Let me hop over there. So let's hop back to Pearson. Wait a minute, that's supposed to change. So that's not really working, but that's okay. Let's see, this one, square root of negative 5x minus 4, square root negative 5x minus 4, enter. Cool. And then the domain, interval notation, we got parentheses, negative infinity to negative, that's not a negative, negative 4, 5, square bracket. So the difference between parentheses and square bracket, like for instance, if this negative 4/5 had a parentheses on it, what parentheses means is that we get really close to that thing, but we don't actually include that endpoint. Versus a square bracket means we get really close to that thing, and we do include that endpoint. So oftentimes mathematics is talking about exactness, like exactly on a point, and then also is concerned with what happens when you're really close to that point. Sometimes numbers really close to a point work, but the point itself does not. All right. So it's very subtle and it's easy to miss. But yeah. I'm gonna hit next question. Let me check my email really quickly to see if we use that Ask My Instructor. Otherwise, I have to go fishing for it. Let me see. Doobie-doo right here. Nope. Zoom. Okay, so I'll just pull it up. Let's go like this. He said week. Let me check it again. He said week 1, question number 19. Okay, so let's do like here. Let me see. Let's go back to assignments. So week 1. So the reason I encourage you to do Ask My Instructor review and practice is because if I pull it up on my end the way I'm doing it, question number 19, it's going to be the exact same questions as yours, but it's going to be different numbers. Versus if you do the Ask My Instructor, it'll be your exact numbers and you won't have to like adjust. It says find the center and radius. Let me see. Yeah. It's okay though. So I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm just going to take notes, especially since we already have the results showing. So let me take some notes real quick. So this is question number 19. Oh, that's not a 9. This is question number 19. This comes from section 1.1, question 57, right? I'm going to label this as this comes from week 1, number 19. So you know it's coming from a different thing. Okay. Comes from section 1.1, question 57. It says find the center and radius. We're asked to find the center and radius of the circle. Okay. And we have this x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 2y plus 1 equals 0. This is actually a good question. And I'm going to go ahead and write the result. Center of the circle is what? 3 comma negative 1, just so we can have it for reference. And the radius is 3, right? So I'm going to box this. Let me show you the notes that I just took. So we have the question, we have the answer. So now we're concerned with, well, how do we get there? How do we get there, right? So let's look at it. Let's hop, I need to go here like this. Let's hop back over to the tablet. Okay. And let's work that, all right? So these are the notes that I just took from that question. Again, this comes from week 1, question number 19. In your book, it comes from section 1.157. We're asked to find the center and the radius. So this question is interesting because in order to do this, we have to use the technique of completing the square, right? We have to do it twice. So this is where like the lab component actually covers that kind of stuff. You are expected to be comfortable with factoring, but most students in college algebra are not comfortable with factoring because it's just so much like random information, right? So because of those kind of things is why Morehouse kind of scaled back on that workload for college algebra. So let's take some time to see how do we go from the beginning and arrive to this conclusion, right? So we're going to do a quick demo on completing the square. Just kind of brace yourself. Completing the square can be a little bit funky at times. The first thing with completing the square is the leading coefficient has to be a 1. So now for us to do completing the square here, we're going to group the like terms together, or the x's together and the y's together, right? I'll do x's. I'm going to do x's in like this this dark green here, right? So if I group my x's, I have x. Hold on, let me fix that. I'm watching the clock. I see the time. This is probably the last one because we're out of time. So if we have x squared, now I'm going to move the 6x next to this one. I'm going to leave a little bit of space. I'm going to do the y's in, it's kind of bright. We'll do this. We got this navy blue. Yeah, let's do purple. Yeah, we'll do the navy blue. That's fine. So we'll leave a little space. Yeah, and we'll group the y's together, right? So we left some space, and we're gonna say plus. Tag on it. Like this, okay. We're gonna say plus y squared plus 2y. We're gonna leave a little bit of space again, and I'm gonna move that constant term to the right-hand side of the equal sign. So if I subtract 1 from both sides, I get a -1, right? So now we have this green part, we have this navy blue part. So in order to turn those into the standard form of the equation of a circle, we have to use completing the square, right? So the completing the square step comes in when we say b over 2 squared, and we add that to both sides of the equal sign. So what I'm doing is b over 2 quantity squared. I'm saying it plus here, and I'm doing the same thing over here, plus b over 2 squared. That's the completing the square step, right? So for this example, that's going to be plus -6 over 2 quantity squared. We're going to do the same thing on the right hand side. -6 over 2 quantity squared. This is why this is a good question. Right? So we added that blue thing to both sides. We did it for the x's. We need to do the same thing for the y's. I'll do this one in orange. Right? So again, we're going to say plus our b over 2 quantity squared. In this case, the b is 2. So we're saying plus 2 over 2 quantity squared. This is a factoring technique. You are expected to know this prior, but it's okay if you don't. This is what these questions and the time is for, to ask these kind of questions and to try to get to the bottom of these concepts, right? So, but again, the technique here, I'm gonna just kind of put it off to the side. We're using completing the square. I'm just gonna, and we got to do it twice. All right. So if you're not comfortable with completing the square, just search, do a YouTube search. There are a lot of videos, ask the tutors. I'm doing my demo. I know students typically have a hard time with the way I present it, but you know, I haven't found a better way yet, but it's accurate. Okay, so now if we focus on the x's, right, the green and the blue, the light blue. Now let's keep going. So the x squared comes down, the -6x comes down. -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is a +9. So then that becomes +9. There's a +9 there, and I'm bringing this one down. This is also a +9. This plus comes down, this comes down, And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So then that comes down. The equal sign comes down. This -1 comes down. And I think that's also a 1, right? So when we did completing the square tells us that we basically added 9 on both sides of the equal sign, and we also added 1 on both sides of the equal sign. So now the first 3 terms when grouped together can be factored, and the second 3 terms when grouped together can be factored, right? So if we look at the first 3, we want to factor it into something of this form. We got an x, it's going to be, just for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of jump to the result because we're about out of time. It should factor into x minus 3 squared, because -3 times -3 is 9, -3 plus -3 is -6, right? If we look at the second 2, the second set of 3, so we want to factor that into something of this form. 2 numbers that multiply to give us 1 and add to give us 2 are both plus 1, right? Squared. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then on the right-hand side, these ones essentially cancel each other out. And so we're left with 9 over there. All right? And just for the sake of time, instead of 9, you write it as 3 squared. Right? Because the general form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Let me make one other augmentation. So we want to get it in the proper form. The standard form of the equation of the circle is x minus h. So this one is already fine because it's already in minus. But we need to augment it as y. Instead of y plus 1, we need to rewrite it as y minus a -1. I know it's a little bit, you just have to take a deep breath and do your best. And then on the right-hand side, I rewrote the 9 as 3 squared, right? So now it's clear that the center, our h comma k, which is the center of the circle, is going to be 3 comma -1. And then the radius of the circle is going to be 3. So when I did it just now, I got these results. And I think if you look at the answers that we had when we started, we got those same results. Okay, I know that was a little intense because usually that's intense for students. But the main thing that I want you to get from there is you gotta use completing the square there. Okay, that was actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked that one. Are there any other burning questions before I let you guys go? Okay, I just want you to if there aren't any burning questions, we are going to end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, guys, link up with the tutors. Do your best. Do your best. Take a deep breath. You can do it. Everything is there. Get help. Get support. If I don't respond to your email timely, just ask me at the next class session. Because that's just how I am. Yeah, that's just kind of what you have to do. But link up with the tutors, that's kind of how that goes. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you guys on Wednesday and take care. Peace.